It's finally time to tackle this massive discovery set, and I'm very excited about this one. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Off, and I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is fragrance speed dating with Electimuss London. I've been having a lot of fun with this format because it allows me to plow through my ever-growing mountain of samples and discovery sets. It allows me to discover again new brands, new fragrances, and just get an idea about a brand. I really like it. It's super fun, and you guys apparently like it too. So we're gonna keep this ball rolling. This one here today is a massive discovery set. We're tackling 20 fragrances. I'm gonna have to break this in two parts just because 20 fragrances are way too much for one video. You would end up sitting here for over an hour. I would probably end up sitting here for over 3. It's just too taxing, too fatiguing also for my nose, and I probably wouldn't even be able to give you an accurate description by the end of it. 10 fragrances is still a lot. This is probably still going to be a very long video. Hopefully you enjoy it. On my side, I'm very excited to tackle the house of Electimuss. I got this discovery set 2 to 3 months ago. I've been sitting on it just because it's a little bit daunting. 20 fragrances are a lot to sample, and I wanted to kind of do it back to back in 2 videos, and I wanted to really be in the mood for it. But today's the day I feel in the mood for this. I already have 2 fragrances from Electimuss which are actually in here. I have Black Caviar and Cupid's Kiss. I love them both. They're very unique. I have to fully admit that in the past I've been a little bit snobby towards Electimuss. It feels like one of those houses that is all presentation and no substance, all smoke and no roast, as they say in Italian. But as I said, the 2 fragrances that I own are actually very good, surprisingly good. I also smelled a couple other ones that are also present in this discovery set. I'll be talking about those fragrances also in third-person mode when I get there. I'll try to be as unbiased as possible, try to give you my first impressions as I've never smelled them. By the way, for the new ones here, just to recap how fragrance speed dating goes, I go through a discovery set or part of a discovery set in this case. I sample the fragrances on strip, which is actually a stark difference from my usual doing. I usually spray on skin just because I wear the fragrances that way, and I like to sample stuff based on how they bloom on skin. But given the amount of fragrances that I usually sample in these videos, spraying on skin is not necessarily feasible. I just don't have the room. Also, I really wanted to replicate the idea and the feeling of going into a shop and sampling a brand for the first time. When you go into a shop, you're basically given samples on paper, you smell them, and you're hit by the first impressions. You don't really go into the dry down. You really don't have time to tackle all that. So I'll be sticking to the opening, to my first impressions, very much speed dating style. I'll be giving a score 1 to 10 to each fragrance, and in the end I'll choose the one I like the most, which I'll be spraying on skin to see if there's a little bit of a change, paper to skin. Before we start, I just want to touch upon Electimuss again as a brand. I purchased this discovery set straight from the brand, straight from the official website. It's been an absolute pleasure. The purchasing experience felt incredibly high-end and luxurious. They even covered all the import duties and taxes, which is something really unusual, which from my experience only Amouage has done for me. It just feels good, and specifically living in Switzerland is something that you have to deal with constantly. It just feels like you're purchasing a high-end product, and it feels like you're being cared for. Also, I have to say that testing the atomizers super briefly, I tested Black Caviar just to see how the atomizers were. The atomizers for Electimuss are absolutely amazing. In general, the samples look and feel super great. Another thing is that the value of this discovery set appears, at least on paper, to be very good. 20 samples, 2 ml each or more. The samples are, as I said, very good. This goes for about $100, 100 euros, 95 pounds, shipping included. You also get a discount code for the amount that you paid for the discovery set to be applied for a purchase of a full bottle. Now, Electimuss London's full bottles, specifically at retail, are very expensive. I think that the bottles start at 265 pounds and they go all the way up to like 430 pounds, depending on maybe the ingredients, on the composition. Again, not for the faint of heart, but at least you get your money's worth with the discovery set. And if you really want, you can detract that value from the full bottle. I think it's pretty cool. The discovery set itself feels incredibly high quality, incredibly luxurious. The packaging is top notch, very stiff cardboard, very padded, absolutely beautiful actually. In here you get, what is this, like test strips, which we're not going to be using today. Then there's something about the allergens, maybe the ingredients, so that's kind of cool, I guess. And then we have the 20 fragrances. So, an interesting thing about Electimuss is that they really feature descriptions for each of the fragrances online. In fact, I printed out the description for all of these fragrances. It's really cool because they mention the perfumer and they mention briefly what the fragrance is about. Today, we're going to be tackling the first row of the discovery set. We'll see what that is about. I'm very curious. I'm very excited. I hope I like the house. Okay, intro was long enough. Let's get to it. Let's get spraying. First fragrance is Amber Aquilaria. Amber Aquilaria is by Julien Rasquinet, and the description says, a refined oud fragrance, elegantly warm with spices and precious woods. The rich cognac note of Aquilaria Oud formed the base of this exquisite fragrance, which is full of warmth and opulence. So, Julien Rasquinet is pretty much a guarantee of a decent fragrance, at least somewhat. Out of the few fragrances that I own by Electimuss, actually at least 2 are from Julien Rasquinet. This one here, I've never sampled. Let's give it a test. I'm gonna be spraying 2 good sprays on these. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Samples like this are amazing. It feels like the brand is caring. There's no excuse for bad samples. This is amazing. I really like the idea. I really like the concept. They're very, very beautiful. Wow, this fragrance is like really pushing off the strip here, pushing off in the air. Massive sillage, my God. Sorry, I just got super distracted because this fragrance is super loud. Wow. Wow, this is absolutely beautiful. Very, very rich, very powerful, very dense, very heavy bodied. It's definitely an amber fragrance. There's a little bit of a boozy note. I'm not really sure at this point if I should be reading the descriptions before smelling or after, because I might be conditioned. But wow, really, really good. It reminds me of Accord de Dessert by Andy Tower. It has that sort of a very rich, very resinous amber with a little bit of a powdery note to it. With a little bit of a spicy funkiness, a little bit of an edge there. Really, really interesting. I'm not really picking up on the oud, and I know what Electimuss Oud smells like because Gladiator Oud is very, very prominent. This is really, really good. I can't shake off the picture of Accord du Dessert or even L'Air du Dessert Marocain. Those smell similar, by the way. It's a very airy, very powdery, very dusty type of amber. It has a little bit of a resinous edge. It kind of reminds me also of Ambre Sultan by Serge Lutens. This is really good. Really, really good. Absolutely amazing amber. I feel that it's incredibly powerful, incredibly dense, but it's also a little bit light. It's airy in a way. I really like this, and kudos to Julien Rasquinet for this because first impression, incredibly strong. I would have to give this at least a solid 8 out of 10. All right, second fragrance from the box here is Aquila Absolute. Let's check this out. Aquila Absolute is by Julien Rasquinet once again, and it says, a captivating and contemporary oud fragrance for the urban explorer. Aquila Absolute is a vibrant, fresh and fruity with spicy accents. Raspberry and cardamom dazzle and dance together, producing sparks of electricity. All right, it's definitely lighter than the other one, so I'm expecting something a little bit lighter. But who knows? I know nothing about this fragrance. Never smelled it, know nothing. Alright, so I was not expecting something like this whatsoever, specifically because they mentioned oud and because the name of the fragrance is Aquila Absolute, which is kind of like referring to the Aquilaria tree, like the Oud Aquilaria. So I'm thinking almond luxury. And I'm also thinking almond luxury just because the scent feels like something that almond luxury would make. It's very, very fresh, very airy, very fruity. This is not stinky at all. There's no oud in here. There's at least no perceptible oud in here. It has a very Middle Eastern type of presence to it, but it's also in a way familiar, very, very wearable. I think that this would be incredibly mass appealing, incredibly likable. It's kind of also a little bit reminding me of Zerjof in a way, because it has that fruity shampoo, very clean, musky type of vibe. Very beautiful. I think that this is still very balanced. It's not like overbearing, it's not overwhelming, it's not overly sweet. Very well done. The scent profile is definitely not my thing, but I can totally see how people are intrigued by this. I think that the other one is much more interesting. This is still good. I would think that this is 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's not my thing, but I do respect it. I do like it. Third fragrance is Auster. All right, Auster is perfumed by John Steven. This name rings the bell. Isn't he the perfumer of like Mr. Smelly's fragrance line? Can't remember what it's called. What is it like? I have no idea. Anyway, the description says, Auster is a timeless fragrance blending Mediterranean citruses, spiced geranium, and earthy woods with a touch of oceanic ambergris. All right, a little bit more maybe traditional smelling. Let's see how Electimuss does this. Wow, actually really quite original. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was expecting something a lot more citrusy, more mass appealing, more kind of like traditionally summer. This is not. This has a lot of ambergris in it, a lot of that oceanic sort of vibe to it. Again, I'm not necessarily sure that it's real ambergris, probably not, but it has a lot of marineness to this. Really, really interesting. The citruses are there, but they're not front and center. They're not forward. I was expecting something very fresh, very lemony. This is actually much more woody than it is citrusy. There's something in here that I'm smelling which is very, very apparent, but I can't pinpoint it. It's something like some sort of a green leaf, some sort of a green cooking leaf, something like sage, rosemary. There's something which is kind of green and oily. I'm not really sure what it is. Very masculine, very, very beautiful. I like this a lot. I would probably wear this kind of like on the daily. This is totally my thing. It's also kind of reminding me a little bit of something like Amouage Bracken Man minus the lavender. This is very, very green, very oily, very salty due to that ambergris accord or whatever it is. I like this a lot. It's definitely leaning a little bit more mature. It definitely leans a little bit more masculine to my nose. This kind of smells a little bit like a dad scent in the best possible way. Very reassuring, very mature, very responsible. I like this a lot. I'm actually thinking that this is probably the best one. But scoring it in third person, walking into a shop smelling this, unless you're specifically looking for something like this is probably a lot more mild, a lot more simple in a way. I really like this. This is probably like a 7.5 out of 10. Really, really interesting stuff. I like this a lot. Fourth fragrance is Black Caviar. All right, so I'm very familiar with this one here. As I said, I'll try to put myself in third person mode. I'll try to give you just my first impressions. I love this fragrance. I love wearing it. I will not mention anything about the dry down or anything else like that. But yeah, really, really good stuff. Before we spray, Black Caviar by Marco Genovese. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I'm not super familiar with his work though. An elegant pairing of woods, aromatic herbs, and luxurious caviar. All right. By the description, it sounds like it's something quite marine. I mean, caviar has a very fishy type of smell. Let's see what we get. What a unique scent. This is really, really impressive. It's impressive just because it's so, first of all, it's super potent. I can still smell it in the air. Again, all of these fragrances are very, very potent, but this smells really, really different from your usual marine. You're initially hit with some sort of a green note, which is maybe myrtle or something like that. It has a very oily vibe to it. Very salty, very fresh. It's also kind of blue, meaning that it almost kind of smells like a showery gel type of fragrance. Very, very clean smelling. But at the same time, again, you have this incredibly prominent green note, which doesn't necessarily smell like myrtle, or maybe it's a combination of myrtle and something like rosemary. Again, it's very, very oily, very pungent in a way. And maybe this green is coming out so oily and so dense because it's maybe enhanced by the savoriness of the saltiness. Super, super unique smelling. Definitely not for everyone. It's very nose catching, very prominent, very pungent in a way, but it doesn't smell like your typical niche marine. It has no detectable cologne or none of those like fishy algae notes that are very common in stuff like Acqua di Sale or even stuff like Megamare or the offerings from Lorenzo Vazzaglia. This smells very high end. It smells very luxurious. It smells very prestigious. This is super elegant, by the way. I really like this. I think that walking into a shop smelling something like this, if you're a little bit more of a niche head, if you have a broader spectrum of things that you can like, this is a nose catcher. This is an absolute banger. This is easy an 8 out of 10, if not more. Again, it could be a little bit polarizing to the average user just because it's a little bit strange, but really unique, really, really good. Fragrance number 5, Capua. All right, never heard about this, never tried it. Capua is by Cristian Provenzano. This daring and sultry cedar fragrance demands attention. A bright opening of elemi, bergamot, and cypress is warmed by tagetes, a type of marigold. The summary: citrus entrance pivots quickly to reveal a darker side. A spicy, smoky cedar and incense heart is full of depth and warmth. Okay, the description has me hooked. It sounds really, really interesting. Let's give this a test here. Capua, huh? Wow, I really like this. This reminds me of something super clearly that I don't know what it is yet. It has a really, really strong oudy note, despite it not necessarily featuring in the description. I don't know what it is. Oh my God, this is really tickling my brain. It's so incredibly familiar. The oudy note smells... It kind of smells like silver oud. I don't know why it's reminding me of some amouage. It's either silver oud or king blue. Kind of a sweet balsamic leathery component to this scent. It's very, very deep, very rich, very beautiful. I like this a lot. Again, I'm a huge fan of silver oud, so if this smells even remotely similar. This is really cool. Wait, I'm just being distracted here. So here it says cedar, LME, bergamot, cypress, and then there's a smoky cedar incense. I don't know, I'm not really getting cedar per se. Again, it's very, very smoky, very woody, very leathery, very sweet. It's very well balanced, very well rounded off. The sweetness in here is nothing like a child's fragrance. This is very adult. Really good. Wow, I'm really impressed so far. I don't know what to say. This is really, really good. I have to say that maybe it's like a 7.5 out of 10 because some people might not like it. Again, I'm picturing myself going into a shop, smelling this. To me, this would be incredibly attractive. It smells super, super good. I don't know what it is. It's like this very rich, sweet, smoky wood type of thing. There's definitely some incense. Maybe, again, it reminds me kind of like silver oud. It smells incredibly familiar. It's really, really good. Very sweet, smoky, leathery, very rich. I like this a lot. All right, 7.5 out of 10 just to cut this loose because otherwise I'm gonna be smelling this for hours. Fragrance number 6 is Caspian Cherry. I seem to remember this is one of the newest offerings from the house. All right, Caspian Cherry is by Kevin Matisse, which definitely does not ring the bell. Caspian Cherry is an Epicurean delight, an extravagant and tantalizing fragrance that perfectly captures the lavish scent of cherries set against an elegant gourmand backdrop. I love cherry. I love cherry fragrances, but I like the tart, artificial, kind of chemical cherries. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I do like that. If it's too gourmand, too much vanilla, if it's too smooth, the cherry tartness that I like kind of gets flooded, and I'm not a big fan. I don't know what this smells like. Let's see. Incredible atomizers. Again, samples are terrific. This is not the cherry that I like. It's a little bit too vanilla. It's too smooth, too sugary, too gourmand or traditionally gourmand. This is strange. It's one of those cherry fragrances that could almost pass as almond. Cherry and almond are very much hand in hand. They can be confused for each other. This one here has a nutty flavor to it. It has a lot of vanilla. It has a lot of smoothness. It kind of smells like marzipan. It has this very powdery, very light, very fluffy type of feeling. Maybe there's some musk to just clean it up. It smells like a very beautiful, almond scented, fresh, fluffy towel. Very gourmand, but not overly sweet. It's pretty well balanced. Definitely not my thing. Definitely not the type of cherry that I like. I like a lot more energy, a lot more zing, a lot more tartness. This is very, very mid-tone. There's nothing up there that is very zingy or refreshing. This is very... Again, it smells like a blanket. It smells like a musky cherry or almond flavored blanket. This also kind of reminds me a little bit of a luxurious candle. It has the facets of a candle. It's very waxy, very nutty, very vanillic and cherry. Again, it smells like a gourmand candle that you would find in a high-end department store. I do like this. I definitely think that this is a good scent. It leans a little bit more feminine, definitely. Third person mode, walking into a shop smelling this would probably be middle of the road. Not super impressive, not super zingy. It doesn't really hit me in any way. It's fairly predictable. I say this is like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Fragrance number 7 is Celestial. Celestial is again by Cristian Provenzano. Celestial is an amber woody floral with a heart of frankincense and exotic roses. Complex, friendly, and wearable. The spices in frankincense lend a light amber tone to an aromatic woody base. Okay, the description is not super appealing to me. It sounds a little bit kind of middle of the road, but who knows? So far, the Electimuss fragrances have actually really impressed me. They're all quite distinct. They don't smell like clones or anything like that. They're all very distinct. They're all very characterful and powerful. I like these a lot, actually. This is super unexpected. I was expecting a lot more sweetness, a lot more florals. This is incredibly dry, incredibly like dry woody. Wait, it said rose, right? Rose, it said woody floral with heart of frankincense and exotic roses. It's super dry, incredibly fresh smelling. Maybe it's a little bit more of a mentholated rose aspect here. Really, really clean, really refreshing in a way. This is definitely in the more clean woods type of category. It's not deep, it's not dense, it's not rumbly whatsoever. This is very, very fresh, very invigorating. It's kind of reminding me a tiny, tiny bit of Rose de Jamal by Les Indemodables. Take that, tone down the rose, tone up the woods, and you kind of get this. This is very... It's very light, very elegant, very clean. Again, this would be a great day starter. This would probably be a little bit more mature. Not my favorite. I'm not digging the scent profile that much. Again, it's nice, it's fresh, it's elegant, but it's a little bit... Maybe it's not my style. I'm not really sure about this kind of like mature vibe about it. It'll probably work really, really well with something like a white shirt though. Really mass appealing. It also has a little bit of a powdery, soapy aspect. Again, it's very fresh, very clean smelling. Really interesting actually. The more I'm smelling it, the more I'm kind of liking it. It's very mass appealing. This would be a terrific killer office scent just because it's so invigorating. You would probably smell very clean, very cared for, very put together wearing something like this. Very professional, super unisex. It has a little bit of a floral aspect, but it's very mentholated. There's also a lot of clean woods in here. Maybe some sort of a sandalwood, maybe very, very light cedar wood or something like that. Really nice. Not my thing. First impressions, I would say 6.5, 7 out of 10 maybe. Fragrance number 8 is Cupid's Kiss. I like this fragrance, I have it, as I said before, it's by Juliette Skinet. As I also mentioned, Cupid's Kiss is a sumptuous and timeless blend of the softest suede and tempting orris. Okay, let's see what we get off strip. This is again, really, really good. Very, very interesting. I have to open a parenthesis, and this is just me owning a bottle. This on skin smells completely different. On skin, it's so much more warm and so much more rounder and powerful. Closing that parenthesis, let's go back to third person mode. This smells like a very clean suede. Not super leathery, not rough at all. It's very, very floral centric, very floral forward. The suede in here, it's detectable, it's very clear in image, but it's a very light, almost like beige suede. It almost has like a little bit of a dusty component, like a cinnamon. There's definitely some sort of a spice in here, maybe a clove or a cinnamon, something that's giving it a very beautiful zing, a very nice contained sweetness, like a spicy sweetness. This is absolutely gorgeous. It's much, much fresher than I was expecting from the name and from the description. It's basically a combination of this incredibly sumptuous, incredibly luxurious and soft beige leather, beige suede at that, with these white florals, very fluffy, very dense in a way, but still airy. And the spices in here basically tie everything together. It's very zingy, very fresh. It smells incredibly clean, super, super luxurious. This is really, really great. An incredibly strong first impression off strip. This is easily an 8+ out of 10. Really, really impressive. super unisex, really refined, so well crafted and balanced. Very fresh considering the suede component in here, which is still apparent. The thing that I'm most impressed by are these very sweet or naturally sweet spices, again like cinnamon or clove. Really, really good. Yeah, this is a strong 8 out of 10. Definitely one of my favorites. I own the bottle, so I will not be spraying this on skin. And by the way, again, it smells completely different on skin, or rather, it really evolves and gets a lot of warmth and a lot of body. Fragrance number 9 is a fun one. We have Gladiator Oud. This one is once again by Julien Skinet. Warm and spicy, Gladiator Oud opens up with a thrilling clash between leathery saffron and dry cumin, hitting at the picture of a gladiator as a warrior at the peak of its physical fitness, clad in armor and ready for battle. So, this is another one of those that I've smelled before. It's absolutely amazing. Let me go third person mode here. This one is definitely impressive. Really, really interesting. This one is also one of those that on skin is a completely different scent. The oud note in here on skin just completely blooms. It's super powerful. On strip, it smells remarkably clean once again. There's definitely oud though. The oud in here is very, very detectable. It's that medicinal, balsamic, very clean, very sharp type of oud. It's not barnyard, it's not stinky whatsoever. It doesn't smell dirty, but it's very, very pungent. Wow, I like this a lot. I love the way Electimuss does oud. It's very clean, but also kind of rough at the same time. I'm getting oud and I'm getting a little bit of a clean, powdery, spice component to it. It's very, very dusty. Maybe I'm biased by the name, but I'm kind of imagining the dust like at the center of the Colosseum, that very beaten down earth, finely grained type of sand. The spices in here are very, very volatile. They're very airy. There's a tiny bit of funkiness, a tiny bit of like edginess. Maybe it's that cumin note, but it's still very, very contained. I feel that Electimuss makes really nice and elegant fragrances. Nothing is too over the top. Really good. I really like this. I'm so stunned by how different this smells off strip. I feel that this off strip is way worse than it smells on skin. This is probably the sort of thing that I would end up buying if I sampled it in a shop. This is really interesting, super unique, kind of edgy, still very fun. It smells luxurious, it smells opulent, it smells rich, but also incredibly well balanced and designed. Yeah, I could smell this for hours. Absolutely amazing stuff. This is an easy 8 out of 10. All right, fragrance number 10 is Imperium. Imperium is by Sofia Bardelli. The confidence of Imperium is clear from the start as the scent opens up with a zingy energy of bergamot and coriander. All right, that's quick and simple. Let's give this a couple sprays to see what this is about. Oh, interesting. This is easily the brightest of the bunch. Very, very fresh, very bright, very energetic, very citrusy. Yeah, there's a lot of zing in here, as the description said before. Energy of bergamot and coriander. I totally get this. It's green, it's fresh, it's citrusy. It has a little bit of a... It's kind of reminding me a tiny bit of something like Beach Hut Man, but maybe less green. It's still very, very beautiful. I feel that it's incredibly well made just because it smells so luxurious, it smells so high-end. This one here definitely sits in the high part of the tone range. It's so airy, so fresh, very, very summery. This would be an amazing start to the day. Incredibly unisex. There's also some sort of a floral in there that smells kind of like an orange blossom. It has this furry white floral type of smell, kind of like a jasmine or maybe like an orange blossom, maybe like a lemon blossom. And it doesn't have that clear soapiness of the orange blossom. It doesn't have that clear neroli type of smell. So it might be something else. It's also kind of too light to be jasmine, so it might be some sort of a like a lemon blossom. I'm not really sure what floral it is, but it's very uplifting, very energetic, very clean smelling. It doesn't smell soapy. It's very citrusy and green. The coriander in here is incredibly noticeable. I actually cooked with it yesterday, so I'm quite familiar with it. It kind of smells also like a lemongrass. It has this very dewy, very fresh, almost watery type of ozonic feeling. Really unique. I'm not really sure if I would associate Electimuss to a scent like this. The more that I'm smelling this, the more that I'm reminded a little bit of a designer-ish type of scent profile, kind of like a Dior Homme Cologne or something like that. Yeah, the greenery was very pronounced in the start. Now it's more like a white floral, citrusy fragrance. Very clean, very beautiful, incredibly unisex, as I said. I like this a lot, but I would definitely not go to Electimuss for something like this. If I were to smell this in a shop, I would be a little bit maybe underwhelmed by Electimuss. I understand that they want to offer something for everyone and they want to kind of just expand their repertoire, but this is not something that I would pay that kind of money for. I like it a lot. I would say 7-ish out of 10. All right, we're done with the sampling. We covered the first 10 fragrances. I'm actually really impressed. They're all quite different. I was scared that this would be another one of those Electimuss London type of experiences, which a lot of the fragrances were kind of uninspired. They all smelled like Zerjof. They all smelled very soapy, very powerful, very fun, but they all kind of smelled the same. They all had the same base. These are very unique. These first 10 fragrances are not redundant whatsoever. I'm really impressed. I'm actually really impressed with the House of Electimuss in general. My favorite was probably Amber Aquilaria, the first one that I smelled by Julien Rasquinet. That amber there was so incredibly beautiful. Yes, it did kind of remind me of the Tawed offerings, but it was so potent, so, I don't know, it was like really impressive. I would think that walking into a shop and smelling these first 10, I would definitely go for either Amber Aquilaria or for Gladiator Oud. Gladiator Oud is a little bit more my style, my jazz, but Amber Aquilaria was definitely super impressive, really dense, and I'll be spraying this on skin. So let's give it a couple sprays here. I might even wear it as my scent of the night. And this one, by the way, was already incredibly powerful off strip, so probably on skin it will just develop even more, be even more warm and enticing. Actually, it smells very similar to the strip. Let me get it here. Yeah, off strip, it's a little bit more vanillic, actually. Off my skin, a lot of those spices, maybe even the more woody notes are coming through. It's a lot more edgy, a lot more masculine. I think that off strip, I mentioned that this smelled kind of powdery and dusty. Definitely does now compared to the skin, at least. Yeah, and skin is so much more warm, edgy, and more masculine. Again, I'm a guy, so maybe my skin does that. Really interesting. Still super good. I stand by my scoring. Maybe even I'll bring it up to an 8.5 out of 10. This is a really good fragrance, and I'll definitely be wearing it as my scent of the night. You could probably still spray it on clothes and get most of the effect. A lot of the fragrances change a lot, as I said. Cupid's Kiss smells completely different on skin than on strip. On strip, it was beautiful, airy, light, very luxurious. On skin, it becomes a lot more gritty, a lot more rich. And also the Gladiator Oud smells completely different on skin. That oud note really pushes through on skin. Much more gritty, much more the Gladiator type of image. On strip, it has that beautiful fresh effervescence of cardamom. It's also beautifully combined with the delicate sweetness of vanilla. Yeah, on skin it's much more ambery, resinous, much more the Serge Lutens Ambre Sultan, much more edgy and vibrant. I really like this. This is super good. I can't wait to wear it more. So highly recommended. Overall, again, the House of Electimuss, super surprising. I can't wait to smell the next 10. I'll probably film the video tomorrow. This has been super fun, and I'm actually kind of kicking myself just because I sat on this discovery set for so long. It's really worth it. Super good stuff. The next 10 are actually more interesting because I've never smelled, I think, any of them. Actually, I smelt Persephone's Patchouli. That's about it. Overall, just to close this off, this is highly recommended. For the price, this is an absolute banger. I think that we're kind of up there with the Les Indemodables Discovery Set. It's that good. Yes, the Les Indemodables Discovery Set is a little bit more high quality. It's a little bit more niche, and you get a lot more for even less than half the price. But this is still excellent value. Really, really good. And the samples are absolutely amazing. I actually really like the House of Electimuss. I would definitely want to purchase more bottles, except that they're not available at discounters. They're super expensive. I think that my second favorite from the ones I smelled, except for maybe Gladiator Oud, was this one here, Capua. This one here was the Cristian Provenzano one that kind of reminded me of Silver Oud. Really, really interesting stuff. Again, I can't stop smelling these. These are really, really good. That's about it. I could be talking about these fragrances for a lot longer. I'm really, really impressed. I'm actually not fatigued at all. I could probably go for the next 10, but I'll keep those for tomorrow on a fresh nose. I'll probably enjoy them a lot more. Yeah, overall, again, super high-end, very luxurious smelling. They are luxurious. They are very, very expensive. So I don't know. I guess you get what you pay for. Overall, I do recommend the Discovery Set. It's amazing. It's amazing value. It's amazing fun. Definitely get your nose on this stuff. Bottles, I don't know, not so much. But we'll talk about the second part in the next video, so stay tuned. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's never taken for granted. Many more videos to come, many more speed dating episodes to come. Until next time, see ya and cheers.